growing concerns in Duluth's Kenwood neighborhood, where a church is offering the homeless a place to sleep each night.
Yeah, that's right. And while those living nearby said it's a very kind move, they're also worried about what it could mean for safety in that area.
Northern News Now's Jeffrey McClure takes a look at what's being called a safe bay outside Vineyard Church.
When I moved to Duluth, we didn't have anywhere to go, so we were sleeping in our car.
The story of Sharika Smith, a mom who once lived out of her car, was shared Wednesday night at Vineyard Church. Chum leaders saying a new initiative outside of the church would help people like Smith.
To that growing need, the number of people we are seeing out in the community who are sleeping in their vehicles, to provide them with some semblance of safety, access to hygiene, and also supports to try to connect with housing services and other things that they need.
Smith's story was shared during a presentation that pitched the idea of using Vineyard's parking lot for something called a safe bay, where people living in their cars could park, starting at 8 each night to sleep and care for themselves.
And Vineyard stepped up to the plate and said that we've got a shower, we've got the facilities to support this, and we'd be happy to welcome this program.
But many nearby residents who attended the meeting raised questions about security concerns, potential trespassing on neighboring properties, and more.
There's not many trees on the actual church property, so I don't really consider somebody's backyard as being a buffer. Could you put up a large privacy fence to discourage trespassing or trash blowing around?
We've also received emails from residents saying they don't think the program is a good idea and that others nearby agree. While not everyone is sold, Chum says a similar program they've offered at the Damiano Center recently has helped many unhoused individuals. Those in support say there are many in the community who could benefit.
When there's a place like this that people can consistently come to and then set up essentially appointments with other caregivers, other partnerships that we have locally, we have a lot more success.
In Duluth, Jeffrey McClure, Northern News Now.
And Chum has said they will have staff there from 8 p.m. to 10 a.m. each day doing walk-around checks and making sure rules are followed. Now, the city still has to approve the proposal. The application will be reviewed by the City Planning Commission on April 8th, and if approved, the safe bay would open May 1st.